97% of men over 50 miss the moment a woman begins to flirt with them. It's not because they're oblivious or out of touch, but because the signals have evolved. She won't playfully touch your arm and giggle like a teenager, nor will she explicitly state, "I like you," or directly ask you out for drinks. Instead, she'll pose a question, soft, casual, seemingly innocuous, that gently opens a door. And if you don't step through it, that door will close as quietly as it opened. That's precisely how it happens. You walk away thinking it was just a pleasant conversation. She walks away thinking, well, I guess he's not interested. You didn't say the wrong thing. You simply didn't say the right thing because you didn't grasp the true nature of her inquiry. This video delves into subtle, non-romantic questions women ask to gauge interest without fully committing. We'll explore 8 such questions, unraveling their hidden meaning, significance, and how to respond effectively. The aim is to demonstrate that you are present and genuine, not desperate or pursuing. After 50, most men discover they don't need to exert more effort, they just need to perceive more. And once you do, you'll begin to discern interest where you once saw mere politeness, warmth where you perceived only small talk, and genuine, mature mutual attraction where you previously assumed you were invisible. Let's start with the first question. It sounds innocent, but it's one of the most significant tests you'll ever encounter. Question number 1, how old are you, really? It sounds playful, even innocent, but when a woman looks you directly in the eye and asks, how old are you really? She isn't seeking a numerical answer. She's probing for something entirely different. She already knows you're not 30. She's not attempting to guess your age for amusement. What she's truly doing is assessing your comfort level in your own skin. She wants to understand, do you carry your age like a burden or like a badge? And your response will reveal everything. If you flinch, deflect, or turn it into a self-deprecating joke about getting older, she'll offer a polite smile, perhaps even a chuckle, but internally, the dynamic shifts. This is because what she seeks isn't youth, it's presence, confidence, a sense that you are fully engaged in your own life, not apologizing for the years you've lived. The men who distinguish themselves at our age aren't striving to appear younger. They are the ones who have made peace with their timeline, who can confidently say, without hesitation, old enough to know what matters, young enough to enjoy the ride, or even with a slow grin, do you want my age or my attitude? I once spoke to a man named Rick, 64, divorced, silver-haired, and impeccably dressed. He recounted a conversation he had at a downtown jazz lounge. She was perhaps in her late 40s or early 50s, intelligent and refined. After some back and forth, she leaned in and posed the question, how old are you, really? Rick, believing he was being clever, replied, too old for you. She laughed, but not in the way he had hoped. He said the spark diminished almost immediately. Later that night, he realized he hadn't just evaded the question, he had evaded the moment. That's what most men fail to grasp. These questions aren't interviews, they're invitations. And when you answer them with self-doubt or self-deprecation, she perceives it loud and clear. Here's what's truly happening beneath the surface. As we mature, we accumulate more history, more scars, more quiet fears that perhaps were no longer seen. But women sense that energy. And when they ask something like this, they're not merely curious about your age. They're curious about your aliveness. So, the next time a woman asks you, How old are you really? Don't reach for a punchline. Don't treat it like a test. Treat it like an open door. Because if she's asking, it means she's already contemplating possibilities. And your answer will determine if that door remains open. Question number 2. Why aren't you married? At first glance, it sounds like a deeply personal question, perhaps even a bit judgmental. But when a woman asks, "Why aren't you married?" especially with a soft voice and a curious tone, it's not an interrogation. It's interest, carefully disguised. She isn't probing your past simply to hear tales of heartbreak. What she's truly asking is, are you emotionally available now? Is there space in your life for someone like me? But this is where many good men stumble. Some launch into their complete romantic history. Divorces, heartbreaks, missed opportunities. Others become defensive, dismissing it with a bitter chuckle, saying things like, marriage. Tried it once, never again. Both responses achieve the same outcome. They close the window she just gently cracked open. What she's seeking isn't your resume, it's your rhythm, the way you convey the answer. If you're at peace with your past, or if you're still dragging it behind you like an unpacked suitcase, the better answer is something simple, grounded, honest, but not burdensome. Try this. Life kept me busy, but I've got space now for something real. Or, I guess I just haven't met the right woman until perhaps now. Let me tell you about Gerald. He's 67, a quiet type who works with his hands, widowed young. We were conversing one afternoon, and he told me about a woman he met at a community garden. They started chatting about tomatoes, of all things, and before long, she asked him, "So, how come a man like you isn't married?" He froze and gave a rather stiff answer about how things didn't work out, quickly changing the subject. A week later, she stopped appearing. "I didn't realize she was asking because she was thinking about us," he told me. "I thought she was just being polite." That's the crucial point. These moments don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, wrapped in casual questions that seem harmless until you grasp their true meaning after she's gone. Psychologically, what's occurring here is subtle yet powerful. A woman asking this is sensing something, but she doesn't want to risk vulnerability unless you demonstrate that it's safe. If your answer feels bitter or closed off, she retreats. But if your tone is calm, clear, and just a little warm, like a man who has done the internal work and is open to something new, it communicates everything she needs to know. So, the next time someone asks why you're not married, don't give her a reason to regret asking. Give her a reason to ask, what's next? Question number 3, do you date younger women? This one catches a lot of men off guard. Some interpret it as a compliment, others treat it like a trap. But here's what you need to understand. When a woman asks, do you date younger women? She's not truly inquiring about your dating history. She's testing your receptivity, quietly, carefully. She's asking, could you see someone like me as more than just a friend most of the time? She isn't seeking a direct yes. She's looking for an answer that makes her feel seen, not judged, not compared, and certainly not like you maintain a roster of 30, something's on standby. She wants to know if the connection you're experiencing in this very moment holds more significance for you than a number on a calendar. Now, this is where some men falter. They either inflate their ego, boasting about younger dates, as if they're auditioning for a trophy, or they shut down, saying things like, "I'm way too old for you," as if to preemptively dismiss the possibility. Both responses miss the core point, because what she's truly asking is, do I have a chance? The better answer is one that prioritizes connection over calculation. Try saying, I don't date by age, I date by energy and connection. Or even, I care more about how a woman makes me feel than when she was born. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's 59, sharp, witted, always well put together. He met a woman at his favorite bookstore, mid-40s, bright eyes, who asked for a memoir recommendation. They chatted, laughed, and shared coffee across the street. Then came the moment she leaned back and asked, do you usually date younger women? He paused, took a breath, and simply said, I like women who bring good energy. It doesn't matter to me if they're younger or older, just that we click. She smiled, not politely, but with genuine interest. That conversation blossomed into dinner, and that dinner evolved into something more. That's the power of presence, of not fumbling when the question isn't actually about what it appears to be. Because here's the truth. When a woman asks this, it's not always about age. It's about permission. She wants to explore the possibility without overly exposing herself. She wants to feel like you'll meet her halfway without making her feel foolish for asking. At our age, attraction isn't about lines or pickup games. It's about knowing how to respond with clarity, kindness, and just enough spark to keep the door ajar. And when she asks if you date younger women, that door is cracked open right there in front of you. The only question is, do you walk through it or let it quietly close? Question number 4, what kind of woman do you usually go for? Now, this one may sound casual, almost like small talk. But when a woman asks, what kind of woman do you usually go for? She's not just curious. She's comparing, measuring, trying to discern if she fits the archetype you've constructed in your mind. It's not about creating a checklist. It's about seeing if she has a chance to be that woman. Here's the mistake many men make. They interpret the question literally and rattle off a list. Oh, someone who's athletic, adventurous, tall, brunette, into golf. As if they're placing an order at a restaurant. What they fail to realize is that in that precise moment, she's observing closely. Listening not just to your words, but to what your answer reveals about how you perceive women. She wants to know if you're fixated on an ideal image or if you're open to a genuine connection. She wants to know if you've evolved or if you're still chasing an ideal that stopped making sense 20 years ago. The better move. Speak to the qualities that truly matter, the ones that can reside within the woman sitting across from you. Try saying, I like women who are thoughtful, curious, someone who can laugh in the middle of a tough day. Notice those are traits she can easily see in herself, especially if she's interested in you, and if she's asking the question, she probably already hopes she fits your answer. I once spoke to a man named Elliot, 62, a retired firefighter. He met a woman through a volunteer project. They got along effortlessly. One afternoon, while painting a fence side by side, she asked, so, what kind of woman do you usually go for? Without overthinking, he said, I guess I like someone calm, someone who makes a space feel peaceful just by being there. She didn't say anything, but later that day, she stayed behind to help clean up. And when he thanked her, she smiled and said, I was hoping I was your type. That's the beauty of moments like this. If you answer with presence, not performance, you create a space where attraction can genuinely grow. From a psychological perspective, this question is a form of self-selection. She's gathering subtle clues to determine if she should lean in or lean out. And your response can either affirm her interest or quietly shut it down. So, next time a woman asks what kind of woman you usually go for, don't list off your fantasy. Describe the kind of connection you'd like to build, because chances are she's not asking for a friend. Question number 5. Are you always this charming? This one usually comes with a smile, maybe even a little laugh. It sounds like a compliment, but it's more than that. When a woman says, "Are you always this charming?" she's doing two things at once: acknowledging the spark she feels and testing to see what you'll do with it. Most men don't realize it, but this is one of those rare moments where attraction comes right up to the surface. Soft, but clear. The compliment is real, but the question behind it is even more important. What she's truly wondering is, can you hold the moment without fumbling it? Can you meet the warmth she's offering without breaking eye contact or turning it into a joke? Unfortunately, this is where a lot of men pull back. They deflect, shrug it off, say something like, "Only on Tuesdays," or "I guess I'm having a good day." And just like that, the spark she offered fizzles. Here's what works better: still light, still playful, but grounded. Try saying, "Only when I'm around someone who makes me feel like myself," or even, "I try to save it for moments that matter." Because when you respond with presence, when your tone says, "I'm here, I see you, and I'm not afraid of this little dance," you make her feel safe to keep playing along. I remember a story from Alan, 68, a soft-spoken widower. He told me about a woman he met at a dinner party. They'd been chatting about books and old movies, and she leaned in and said, "Are you always this charming, or is it just tonight?" Alan smiled gently and said, "That depends." "Are you always this curious, or am I just lucky?" He said she looked at him a little longer after that, with eyes that said, "Now we're getting somewhere." Here's the thing. This question isn't really about charm, it's about chemistry. She's giving you a moment, an opening, a safe space to take the interaction from friendly to flirtatious without pressure, without pushing. And how you answer tells her if you're a man who's still tuned in or tuned out. Psychologically, this kind of compliment, question combo, is a feminine way of gently escalating interest. She's not going to make the first move outright, but she is going to open a door. And in that moment, your job isn't to prove anything. It's just to receive the compliment without shrinking from it. So, if a woman ever asks if you're always this charming, don't brush it off. Let her see that, yes, you're still a man who knows how to meet a moment when it arrives. Even now, especially now. Question number 6. Why don't you have a girlfriend now? This one might seem simple on the surface, but it's one of the clearest signs that she's not just talking, she's wondering. Wondering if there's room in your life, and maybe even in your heart, for someone like her. When a woman asks, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" she isn't making small talk. She's feeling you out, quietly asking, "Are you open? Are you still capable of intimacy? Or have you shut that part of your life down for good?" A lot of men, without realizing it, answer this question in ways that sound closed. They say things like, "I'm too set in my ways," or "I like my freedom," or worse, "Relationships are too much drama at this stage." And just like that, without meaning to, they give off the signal that their doors are locked, emotionally unavailable, maybe even a little bitter. But here's the truth. She's not just asking if you're single. She's asking if you're available. mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And the right answer, if it's true, is one that leaves room for hope. Try saying, I guess I've been waiting for something that feels unexpected, or I've taken my time, but I'm still open to being surprised. Let me tell you about William. He's 71, a sharp dresser, always calm, carries himself like a man who knows who he is. He was at a gallery opening when a woman struck up a conversation with him. After a while, she leaned a little closer and asked, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" He looked her in the eye and said, "Because I've been busy learning how to be a better man. Now I'm ready for a better kind of love." He said, her eyes didn't leave his for the rest of the night. That's the power of a grounded answer. One that's not afraid to show a little longing, a little mystery, but still stands tall. From a psychological point of view, women in midlife and later years are just as nervous about rejection as we are, maybe even more so. So, instead of stating how they feel directly, they ask these types of in-between questions. Ones that sound curious, but are actually brave little bids for connection. And how you respond lets her know whether it's safe to keep going deeper or whether she should retreat before she feels foolish. So, when she asks why you're still single, don't give her a reason to walk away. Give her a reason to stay curious. Stay open. Stay with you just a little longer. Question number 7. Would you ever date someone like me? There it is. The closest thing to a confession you'll ever hear from a woman who's trying to be brave but not reckless. When she asks, would you ever date someone like me? She's not fishing for compliments. She's putting herself on the line. And believe me, asking that question takes courage. It might come wrapped in humor, a smile, a casual tone, but underneath it, there's vulnerability. Because this time she's not asking about woman like her. She's asking about X or her. It's not a test. It's not a joke. It's a moment, a real one. And how you respond can either make her feel beautiful or make her wish she hadn't asked. A lot of men freeze in this moment. They try to play it safe, maybe say something neutral like, I don't know, maybe. Or worse, they panic and change the subject. And just like that, she pulls back. Not because she didn't mean it, but because she now feels exposed and alone in it. So, what's the right answer? Not a line. Not a performance. Just something honest, something that lets her know she was seen and appreciated. Try saying, I'd be lucky if I could, and then say nothing else. Let it sit. Let her feel the weight of it, the truth of it. I remember a man named Charlie, 66, former military, a little rough around the edges, not one for poetry. He told me about a moment he had on a walk with a woman he'd met through mutual friends. They'd been getting to know each other slowly, carefully. And one evening, under a fading sky, she stopped, looked over at him, and asked quietly, would you ever date someone like me? He said, he didn't answer right away. He just looked at her. Then he said, I think I'd be a fool not to. She didn't say anything at first. She just took his hand, and they kept walking. That's what this moment calls for. Not cleverness, not strategy, just clarity with a touch of warmth. Psychologically, this is the final test. Not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply human one. She's showing you her hand, not just as a flirt, but as a woman who's wondering if she's still wanted, still seen, still capable of stirring something in a man like you. You don't need to give her promises. You just need to give her presence. So, when she asks if you'd ever date someone like her, know that it took something for her to say that out loud. And if you can meet her with something true, even something simple, she'll remember you not as the man who chased, but as the man who made her feel real again. Bonus, non-verbal clues matter too. Not every question comes with words. Sometimes the biggest signs of interest don't come from her mouth at all. They come from her body, her posture, her eyes, the way she lingers just a little longer than necessary when the conversation pauses. Because here's the truth. Women, especially mature women, are often more fluent in subtlety than most men realize. They've learned how to send signals without uttering anything that might expose too much. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the message entirely. Have you ever noticed a woman tilt her head slightly when you're speaking? Hold your gaze for just a beat longer than most people do, or laugh at something you said, even when it wasn't exactly a joke. Those aren't accidents. Those are clues. And then there are the physical cues, a gentle touch on your arm when she emphasizes a point, standing just a little closer than she needs to, mirroring your movements, crossing her legs when you do, leaning in when you lean forward. These are signs that she's not just present, she's engaged, she's aware of you. And more than that, she wants you to be aware of her. I remember a man named Daniel. He was 70, widowed, hadn't dated in over a decade. He met a woman through a local film club. After a few group outings, she started sitting beside him more often. She'd ask little questions, laugh easily, and once, after a shared joke, gently touched his hand. He thought nothing of it until she stopped doing it, and he noticed how quiet it felt when that small warmth disappeared. "She was waiting for me to notice," he said later, and I didn't. Not until it was too late. That's how non-verbal signals work. Their invitations, but they don't stay open forever. Physiologically, we're wired to pick up these signals. Eye contact, proximity, mirroring, all speak to the oldest parts of human attraction. But when we get older, especially after heartbreak or long gaps between relationships, we start to mistrust what we see. We second guess. We tell ourselves, she's just being polite. But what if she's not? What if her glance means more than manners? What if that lingering laugh is her way of saying, "You still have it, I see you"? At our age, it's not about reading minds. It's about staying present, staying open, noticing the details you used to overlook when life was louder, faster, more crowded with noise. So here's your quiet assignment. Next time you're talking to a woman, stop looking for the perfect line. Look at her eyes, her body language, the rhythm of her breathing when she's listening to you, and ask yourself not, what do I say next? But what is she already telling me without saying a word? Because sometimes the most meaningful signals don't come in questions, they come in silence. Final reflection, respond like the man you are. By now, you've seen how subtle attraction can be after 50. The questions aren't loud, the signals aren't obvious, but they're there, quiet invitations wrapped in casual words, waiting to be answered by a man who knows who he is. And when that moment comes, when she leans in, smiles, and says something like, "Are you always this charming?" Or, "Would you date someone like me?" What she's going to remember isn't just what you said, it's how you carried yourself. Whether you rushed or rested in the moment, whether you tried to impress or simply told the truth. Because real presence doesn't need a script. The men women remember aren't the ones who have perfect answers. They're the ones who make her feel safe being real, who listen without looking past her, who let a little silence hang in the air without trying to fill it. So here's what I want you to remember. At your age, you don't need to chase. You don't need to perform. You've already lived enough life to know what matters. Now it's about recognizing the moments when someone else sees that in you and being ready to meet them halfway. Let your posture be open. Let your voice be steady. Let your energy say, I'm here, I'm not playing games. And if this turns into something, it's because we both showed up honestly. Because when a woman feels that from you, when she senses that groundedness, everything changes. She leans in, she softens, she lets go of the performance too. And now you're not just having a conversation, you're building a connection. So, as we close, take a look back at the last few conversations you've had with women. Little moments you now realize carried more weight than you gave them. Were there questions you brushed off too quickly? It's common to feel this way. The next time it occurs, you'll not only notice it, but more importantly, you'll genuinely experience it. When that happens, resist the urge to overanalyze. Instead, remain grounded, compassionate, and receptive. You don't need to transform into a different person. Simply be the man you inherently are, one who listens, leads with kindness, and isn't afraid to express himself. If this message resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe, and tap the bell icon. Your support enables us to continue sharing meaningful discussions with men like you who have so much life ahead of them.